Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. This is Sri Iyer, your host, and today we are rejoining Elmer Yuen, and there's a lot happening. Olympics is a place where people are looking at that, but behind the scenes, a lot of other things are happening in China. So we've been talking to you off and on about the chances of Xi Jinping getting another term or being able to get elected as president or secretary for life. Those things are always something that is, what she wanted. He wanted to be like as big as Mao Zedong, but there are indications now that that is changing. The ground from underneath is slipping. To understand a little bit more about this and what are the undercurrents, let us welcome Elmer Yuen. Elmer, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. Can you hear me, sir? Yeah. So yes. The floor is yours, Elmer. Walk us through what is happening.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Okay, good.
I can hear you.
So we are all concerned about Xi Jinping, whether he will get re-elected or not, because
yes,
based on the old rules, he has 2 terms, 5 years each, and by the end of this year, he's finished. He should retire. But he has been wanting to amend the constitution. In communist country, constitution is like come and go easily. So he has tried to amend the constitution to have more than 2 terms. So meaning more than 10 years, he wants to be re-elected. That's in our terms. But originally, a year ago, looks very for certain, almost 90%. But then this chance of being re-elected, the chance has been coming down dramatically. Now, I would say it's about 50-50. All right, first of all, really it boils down, economy, terrible. Chinese economy is in terrible shape, starting from Donald Trump's so-called trade war, and then by putting on more tariff and cutting back lots of tech, they have already stopped shipping to China, very special chips, special software, special operating system. There's a huge cutback by US, almost by the week. Every week there's some kind of more sanction being put on. So the Chinese economy, especially with Xi Jinping, who is trying to control all the digital. The digital is the thing that has the fastest growth. That's why people like Didi, which is the Chinese equivalent of Uber, and also Alibaba, and you name it, even WeChat, all these companies, TikTok, all these companies have to be, Xi Jinping wants to control all of them, make them state-run instead of entrepreneurial managed. So it's a very serious problem. They're losing their profit, they're losing their market shares, and they are being held back in the US public listing, have been on the process of being transferred to Hong Kong, and meaning they are losing in US investors. It's very serious. In China, the property price had come down average 30%. This is huge. Chinese personal asset, I'm talking about mainland China, their personal asset, 70% is in the property, in the flat they live. Now imagine 70%, you lose 30% of that, meaning your total asset is down by 20%, and about his cash. And everybody is paying mortgage on their property. And huge amount of unemployment just happened because of Xi Jinping. He shut down lots of trades, for example, like private tuition for students. And that alone is a problem of 30-40 million people out of work. And how are they going to pay their mortgage? So economy is a disaster. It's a disaster. The local government, China has province, right? All the province have difficulty financing their own government budget. Before, they were selling land to the real estate developer, so that money they can do anything they want. Now that has stopped because property prices have come down. Nobody is buying any more land or auctioning any land. Suddenly, the local government has no income. The entire China, the only local government in black is Shanghai. Everybody is in red, very serious red. They have to reduce salary, and not paying salary on time. Talking about to the civil servants, then you know how serious it is, right? I mean, you have big government in India too. Can you imagine not being able to pay salary and having to reduce their pay by 20-30%? It's a tremendous problem. All happened in the last year or so. So he is losing power. And in the last meeting of all the Central Committee members in the Beijing, it's about 2 months ago, they have problem coming out with a written resolution. He is trying to mention he is the successor to Chairman Mao. Nobody in between. All those people in between, he said they are no good. But then the resistance, his opposition came back and spent a whole week with him and make sure those names, like Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Wu Jintao, all those names put back into the resolution, which means from that point on, 2 months ago, he has not been successful. His power has been eroding in the last 2 months, and a lot of writing coming out. There's one publication, 40,000 Chinese characters, which is a lot. Each character in English is one word, right? So they're coming out criticizing him, not in a very calm and objective manner, and that's more dangerous because people would see, oh, this is not propaganda. This is real. This guy is no good. This guy is weak and no good and selfish and so on. So this document, and then lately there is a recording came out, 1 hour recording, and talking about how they handle the pandemics in China, which is another disaster, total disaster. They have 2 vaccines that does not work, and the Chinese, he's a very being communist, they are all totalitarian, all have very simple idea. He said, I want zero. My target in China for the pandemic is zero, meaning he wants nobody. So he would spend so much money testing. All right. So when one person gets infected, let's say in the whole neighborhood, the entire neighborhood, and as you know, China, these high rises, you can be talking about 20-30,000 families get tested several times a day, all right, to weed out all these infected. So the bottom line is, he thinks this is the way to weed out and then put them away, quarantine them somewhere else. That's the way to reach the zero tolerance. His target is zero tolerance. As a result, the recording, the 1 hour recording is very interesting. The testing company is getting so rich, and they are the one who is driving more tests. And because he says zero tolerance, so the testing has become the biggest business in the world, probably even bigger than vaccine, because vaccine, you only use it, let's say, once every 6 months. But these testing, they can have several tests a day. As you know, US, they are giving these kits to people, 12 testing kits to people who do the test. All those test kits are made in China. This is hugely profitable, hugely. So whether it's really the pandemic or the Omicron is so serious, or these guys are just exaggerating it and try to get more business. The way I see it in China, because Xi Jinping wants zero tolerance. So as a result, of course, testing becomes the biggest business ever, right? So with the 1.4 billion population, and if you, let's say, do one test every even 3 months, this business is huge, and the whole world is buying their test kits. On top of that, vaccine, of course, outside China, vaccine is such a big business. Now they are trying to vaccinate the 3-year-olds. I mean, this whole thing is out of hands. When you have a sickness, the first thing to do is how to cure, not how to prevent further spreading. So they make this whole vaccination, testing, everything a huge business. And the last thing they are doing is to promote the healing medicine. I mean, what you call therapy, right? Therapeutic drugs. They are not talking about it. this whole thing is such a big business. And let me tell you, this guy, Fauci, represented big pharma. Let's be honest. Every time he has new idea about what to do. But what about healing? What about curing and healing? He never talks about it. So this guy is pumping more and more business. Same thing with China. This whole thing, unfortunately, we are just really victims. This is such a huge business. You must write a book on this, seriously, and do your research around. This is such the biggest scandal in the world and biggest industry in the world.
Elmer, that's going to be my sequel. And also, viewers, you may or may not have seen a video that I put out in March 2020, March 30th, 2020. Elmer, what happened was this. There is a brilliant scientist in Boston area. He's also Indian American. He has four MIT degrees, including a PhD. He's the inventor of email.
Him. I saw him on TV.
Yes, he's the inventor of email. His name is Dr. Shiva. And he and I, we did a hangout. And what he said was, this is the 30th of March, 2020, within weeks of this becoming a pandemic. He said, you need to fight this thing by increasing your antibodies. And the way you do that is have vitamin A and vitamin D. You can have supplements. For vitamin D, you can go out and stand in the sun for a few minutes, let the sun soak you in. And for vitamin A, get leafy vegetables. Eat food that has, right? You know what YouTube did? They pulled it down. They pulled down my video without telling me why after 2 weeks. And till today, I have not heard why YouTube said that this video needed to be pulled down. And here is the worst part. 2 weeks ago, Israel, there is a study that says that vitamin D actually helps. So whatever, he has a startup. Dr. Shiva has a startup company called Cytosolve, CYTOSOLVE. So he looks at it at the molecular level. I mean, he had a fairly good analysis as to what this was in a more clinical point of view and said, this is what it is. If you have these things, then you are going to be able to do fine. And no reason, no explanation, it was pulled down. So see, this is something that I have also been bothered about, Elmer, but I have a couple of questions on what you mentioned. One is Shanghai economy. You said that Shanghai is the only one in black and the rest are in red. So what makes Shanghai stay in black?
Shanghai, before the communists came, it has always been, we call the center of Asia. At that time, there is no such thing as finance, but it's the trading center of the world because of the Chinese market. So all the product in the world will ship to Shanghai, and all the product from China goes out from Shanghai. This is the center of. So we have all kinds of culture: British culture, the culture, American, Jewish, and everybody, the Dutch, and everybody is doing business in Shanghai. So Shanghai is very, very westernized, modernized, and industrialized. During the communist reign, 50% of their revenue of the whole country came from Shanghai. So Shanghai is very well managed. And I'm not trying to boast my own.
Well, you are from Shanghai. Of course, you're going to.
My family.
Of course, you're going to sing its praises.
I don't want to boast, but in a way, we are more westernized or more modernized. So my family, we were the agent for Leica camera in China. So in Shanghai, that's the distribution. But anyway, that's they communists took it all. We'll have another time about my family when you have time. But anyway, Shanghai is very modernized. Shanghai is very modernized, and they know how to manage their finance, and they don't listen to Xi Jinping all the time. This is the base. Shanghai is the base for Jiang Zemin. Remember? And Jiang Zemin is very, very powerful, still today very powerful. And he and his group are the opposition, or you can call them the deep state of China. And this deep state is very corrupted, but Xi Jinping is a newcomer. It's very much like Donald Trump came to Washington, all right? He's a newcomer.
Right.
Very few people. So the deep state every country, I'm sure India, you have the deep state.
Oh yes.
So
Oh
this
yes.
is what
Oh
happened.
yes.
And
Modi
Shanghai is
was a
well
newcomer.
managed. Well managed.
No, Modi was a newcomer in 2014. They tried everything
I see.
possible to try
Well,
and put him down. Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
And they're continuing
So
to do
the same
that.
thing is
So,
happening. The same thing is happening in China now. They are trying to do away with Xi because he's ruining all this corrupted business. All right, and this like Donald Trump. Donald Trump has basically blocked a lot of people's interests. He's not a friend.
yes, yes, yes. In fact, I have another question. So you said that many people are not getting paid their salaries. So let's say if it is a government sector, medical
Yes.
sector, law and order, and things like that,
Mm.
they are not going to go and maintain or do their work if they don't have money or to feed their children. What is the inflation? How's the inflation in China?
Very serious. We have 7.5, right, in US. I would say China easily over 10%. Very, very serious. All the inflation really boils down to one thing, the price of energy. Because every product you look at, it's all made by energy. Our human factor, even in India or China, we see a lot of labor, but the real labor content is very small, less than 10%. 90% of the product is the cost is in energy cost. I mean,
Yes.
start from underground all the way up, right? Even agriculture is energy business. It's not the personal human cost. So anyway, lately, as you can see, the coal and the natural gas and the oil price have been going up like crazy, and that is the source. And right now, because of Biden trying to talk about green energy and not issuing license for the fracking and also for the coal-fire generation
Power
and so
plants,
on.
yeah.
So U.S. energy is getting more expensive, and now they have to import oil. Oil price have almost doubled. So in a way, this is really a source of the inflation worldwide, not only in the United States. China more serious because people will make more money. If they see chance of inflation, they add price more because they control the market. It's not a free market. In a free market, there's still self-adjustment on the price. But in China, because of the monopoly by the big family, they add down more prices, even inflation.
So 40,000 word document,
So
which is
yes, please.
No, I finish your thought. I thought
It's
you were
called
done.
an
Go ahead.
Why don't you can actually get it online? It's called the objective criticism or objective evaluation of Xi Jinping. Objective. Remember the word. It's 40,000 words.
Yes.
I'm sure they've already translated into Chinese. Very worth written. And I think you also check. There is a recording. The 1 hour recording. It's the guy's name is Wang Wanshen. Wang is Huang. That's his last name.
Understood.
This should also Google, already translated into English. If you look at these documents, and they're public, all right, and somehow most people in China or most Communist Party member can see it. After they've read it or hear it, I don't think he has a good chance of being re-elected. Totally
Wonderful.
exposed. Everything I said is probably in those documents.
Wonderful. So now our touch wood, the thing is settled down. Our communication is settled down. I'm going to put up the picture.
Yes.
Let's put up the picture, please. This is the one, the objective evaluation of Xi Jinping.
Yes.
So viewers, if you can see it, this is what Elmer is talking about. So we can take down the picture now. If you're
really interested in China, these two documents, one is a recording, which I'm sure they've written form, and one is this. It's a must read. After you read it, you don't really need to listen to me anymore. Seriously, because you understand the background. Seriously, I mean, I'm not. I'm talking down. I think your Indian media has been very weak in trying to report China. Very weak.
Yes.
And these two documents would really what's happening these days.
Wonderful. So next question from me. So this oil energy accord deal between Russia and China that was signed last week, when do you think that is going to become operational?
Russia's delivery has been always poor in weapon, in energy, everything. So it's not really up to China. China always say, when you deliver, then I will receive it. Every time, you remember the pipeline, they built a pipeline 5 years too early. The Russian one never came to meet. So it's Russian delivery is huge. It's terrible. Russia, as you remember, have never gone through a market process. They went straight from Tsar, the imperial system, straight into communism. They don't
Yes.
understand the customer. They don't care about the customer. We only care about the customer, right? You care about your orders, and all the
Yes.
Silicon Valley company care about their customers. But Russian, it's a planned economy, and before that, it was the Tsar, it was the Russian royal family. They don't understand anything about business or economy. So it's a joke. Doing business with Russia is you sign it, and maybe it comes, maybe it doesn't come. You don't take it seriously because they
So
don't even understand of schedules, right?
now let's come to the last question for the
Please.
day. And this is, there's a perception
Yes.
that China also has an active role in the current conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Now, 2 weeks ago, we talked about it. You talked about it. In fact, yours was most interesting viewpoint because it wasn't, just saying what the West was saying. You were saying some things more interesting. In fact, in our channel, we have very different viewpoints about Ukraine, how Ukraine itself is an artificial construct and so on and so forth. But my question to you in all these things is, there is a perception that China also has an interest in this. Do you think China has an interest in the Russia-Ukraine conflict? And if yes, how?
First of all, China has been doing business with Ukraine as big as with Russia because half of the.
So some of you were asking about the book Red-Handed. Now, instead of just having one session, I decided that we should look at it actually in a chapter by chapter basis because there is so much and the revelations are going to shock you. The first episode is under edit right. Yeah, you're back. Go ahead. So
Sorry.
we're talking.
Somebody is interfering with my network.
Yes.
So anyway,
go ahead.
let me go back to that when I stopped. China used to do a lot of business with Ukraine in the military wear because half of the Soviet military was done in Ukraine. Ukraine is a very heavy. They have not only military base, but they also do a lot of research. Such thing. Remember that the first aircraft carrier, China bought it from Ukraine. It's a half finished, and China took it over and claimed they're going to build a hotel, and they end up becoming China's first aircraft carrier. So what a joke, The world believed it, that ship has to go through all the way through the Black Sea and then the Turkey, the Strait and all the way, and they claim they're going to build a hotel. End up become a aircraft carrier on the Pacific right now. But anyway, they do a lot of business, high tech, and China. So what I think Russia wants to control that again. It's not easy. Now there are about maybe easily 30, 40,000 Ukraine scientists and engineers working in China, helping them to do more military wear to weapons. All right. So it's a big problem. But anyway, that's maybe not the reason, nothing to do with this. I think China understand they've been surrounded and isolated. They want to create the Axis nation. They have no choice because by being alone, it's very dangerous. As you know, China has no friends. Even Mongolia is not their friend. So they want to team up with Russia and North Korea and Iran and also Argentina, Venezuela, and possibly Germany to form this Axis, the Axis nation against the free world. And this is what they are supporting. Even at the United Nations, they are supporting the Russian, saying that it's okay for them to to invade Ukraine. It's a really, I mean, the whole American idea of this United Nations is gone. nobody talk about it anymore. But so this is, they have a, I think, but Putin has been one. Putin is a very, very smart guy. He does not want to be totally lean to the Chinese side because he knows if he goes that way, the economy, the future of Russia is over. He is still hoping one day he can work with the US, but it's getting more difficult because the animosity is building up between Washington and Moscow. Trump would have done a better job. With Trump, they could have a kind of good relationship, and without having to lean to China. But right now, I think Biden is pushing Putin to be with China. That's the way I feel.
So, viewers, couple of things. I was finishing up a sentence when Elmer rejoined us, and there is going to be a series of conversations based on the revelations in the Red-Handed book with a seasoned journalist. Her name is Dr. 𝗣𝗂𝘀𝘀. She's a Harvard PhD, sociology, very articulate. She has been a journalist in the DC area for decades. She knows each and every congressman and senator and all the people that matter in this big tango dance that is called as Washington and lobbying. So we're going to have a very interesting episode. So stay tuned to that. So I'm sorry, you said something that made me ask you this follow-up question. Now there is a fear. I'm seeing some fear in American circles that the combination of Russia and Germany can seriously threaten the hegemony of United States. In fact, if things go along in 5 years, US will be rendered, powerless because suddenly a lot of Germany is Euro. If you ask me, I don't know if you agree with me or not. Germany is Euro, right?
Absolutely. Without Germany, the whole Europe will go bankrupt.
Yes. So when Germany has the heavy engineering, it has the workforce, it has the smarter intelligentsia, it has everything else, and Russia has the energy. So I want people to start thinking about these different hookups that are happening and things that are going through in my mind, in your minds. Like Biden is now probably thinking, how do I reestablish the supremacy of the dollar? That is at stake too. Remember why US went to war against Iraq. It had nothing to do with Saddam Hussein or weapons of mass destruction. It was the decision by Saddam Hussein to get euros for his crude oil from other countries. That's what triggered it. And now you told me, I think last week, that China is going to offer Russia the petrol and gas and all that stuff in euros. Yes. See, this is the thing. Suddenly, China and Russia have now decided that they don't need the dollar anymore, right? So just conclude it for us, the way you see this complex chess game play out. So we are leaving a lot of things here, tantalizing for maybe the next conversation, but just your quick thoughts on this growing relationship between Germany and Russia.
Yeah, I remember the German defense minister was saying something that they should gang up with Russia and against China. That's what he said, and then he was fired the next day.
He was fired, exactly. That happened in New Delhi. He said the statement in New Delhi.
Exactly. That was from his heart. This is from his heart. He was telling the truth, and he got fired. Not supposed to say it. So really, there's a natural alliance between Russia and Germany. This is very, very dangerous. And there is an animosity. The German really dislike the Americans because, as you know, Germans are very disciplined and organized people, and Americans are totally, free. They only get organized when they have to. So this is a natural conflict. So like the different. You remember the Schröder? I think there was a Prime Minister Schröder became the director of Gazprom in Russia. They are like that, and they have a natural alliance because they need energy, and they lead Europe. I think Russia will do everything to make sure Germany will lead, not America. And Biden is too weak to lead both the NATO and the Euro. So I'm afraid that there is a big problem here, and they are going to penetrate. They are going to invest to get Germany very close to Russia. That is, I think, is going to happen in the coming few years.
So with that thought and the possibility of how Biden can turn off the Nord Stream 2, that the possibility of that is itself a topic of its on its own. We're going to touch upon that next week. But tomorrow in Global Insights, we're going to talk about a similar stuff, about some falsification or data that came during the leading up to 2016 elections, whereby a lot of mud was thrown at Donald Trump from the Democratic Party. We're going to share all the stuff tomorrow with Sridhar Chityala. But today, this is all for you. And this is all for today. And Elmer, thank you so much. You've been having back-to-back hangouts. Hopefully, you get some rest now, and we'll catch up again very soon. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, India.